Did you know that in 1744, the Rothschilds put a plan in place that created wealth for generations to come? And today they are still one of the wealthiest families in the world. And yet over 64% of Americans don't even have a legacy plan in place at all. Now, you're probably thinking, isn't legacy planning what people who've already retired do? No, not at all. If you're over the age of 18, you probably have some level of assets. Assets encompass everything we own: our homes, cars, furniture, checking accounts, personal collectibles, jewelry. All of the things that we accumulate that have value become part of our assets. And no matter what the size of your assets are, decisions need to be made with what will happen to those assets if you're no longer around to manage them at all. The thing to remember about the Rothschilds is that they started small, but they had a clear plan in place. Hello, my name's Jeff Thompson, and I'm the founder of Synergistic Life Services. We're a nationwide network of financial architects dedicated to bringing sound financial planning and great solutions to American families and businesses. What makes Synergistic unique is that each of our financial architects is trained to listen to your individual wants and needs and execute a plan of action to get you where you want to go, not where the typical financial advisor wants you to go. At the same time, we bring decades of skill and knowledge to your experience with Synergistic, ensuring that you have all the information you need to make a sound and educated decision based on your particular situation, desire, and goals. Simply put, at Synergistic, we do what's right, not what's popular. Now, by definition, legacy planning is the process designed to help you manage and preserve your assets while you're alive, and to conserve and control their distribution after your death, according to your goals and objectives. And it's not only a one-time event, it's an ongoing process. Why? Because all of your assets will change as you live life. There are far too many people who put off legacy planning, either because they think they don't need it or they feel they have plenty of time to figure it out later. But think about what you'd put your family through if you didn't have a plan in place and something actually happened. There are three major problems with not having a comprehensive legacy plan. First, does your family know what you have and where to find it? Next, how will you be sure that your assets go where you want them to go? And lastly, how do you avoid a family feud and court probate where no one knows exactly what your wishes actually were? Do you really want probate judge to decide who and where your assets are going to go? Taking the time to put a comprehensive plan together and regularly reviewing that plan on an annual basis is the greatest protection you can provide your family at a time that will arguably be one of the most emotionally challenging times of their lives. But what legacy planning means to you specifically depends on who you are, your age, health, wealth, lifestyle, life stage, goals, and many other factors determining your particular legacy planning needs. For example, you may have a small legacy and may be concerned that only certain people receive particular things. A simple will probably be all you need. Or you may have a large legacy and minimizing any potential legacy tax impacts is your foremost goal. Here you'll need to use more sophisticated techniques in your legacy plan, such as multiple trusts, donor-advised funds, LLCs, corporations, and even possibly offshore holding companies. Another important factor that most families miss is incorporating a solid asset protection strategy as part of that legacy plan. As I alluded to before, there are three core objectives to any solid legacy planning strategy: accumulation, preservation, and distribution. Legacy accumulation objectives involve accumulating assets and net worth during your lifetime by systematically channeling money into savings, insurance, and investment plans. Legacy preservation objectives include protecting your ability to earn an income during your working years and planning to minimize and offset legacy shrinkage due to death. And legacy distribution objectives deal with identifying and implementing the tools and techniques that will distribute assets to your heirs in an advantageous manner that's consistent with your wishes. There may be a mistaken impression that at death your assets will automatically be distributed to your loved ones. Instead, several unwanted heirs, not just family members, may step forward beforehand for their share of your legacy and siphon off a significant portion of your legacy's total value. These unwanted heirs might take the form of federal estate tax, state inheritance tax, or all of the estate administrative costs like fees and other final expenses. With proper advanced planning, we can work with you to make sure that more of your legacy ultimately passes on to your family. The most basic legacy planning tool is a will. This legal document states that actions you wish to have taken after your death in regards to disposition of property, guardianship of children, and administration of the legacy itself. Rather than allowing the state to determine these actions on your behalf, the preparation and execution of a will is a critical first step in legacy planning. With your will, you'll be required to name an executor to your estate. This person is responsible for settling all aspects of your estate according to the terms of your will. But before you assign an executor, you have to do the due diligence of a legacy analysis. This process could eliminate or at least minimize the chance of probate, which means more of your legacy would go to your family and your heirs and be distributed much more quickly. The legacy analysis process is a linear one, but it does take dedicated time and the right team. Synergistic will be the financial architect that puts the team of experts together to ensure that goals are clearly defined and that final expenses and taxes are minimized. Your Synergistic financial architect will review assets, transfer methods, ensure that your final goals and objectives are outlined, and incorporate new alternatives to create an optimal legacy plan for you. Let's take a look at one of our recent client experiences. Peter is a 45-year-old marketing executive from Chicago. He's married to Christine, and they have 3 children, Hannah, who's 17, Connor, who's 15, and Libby, who's just turned 12. When Hannah was born, Peter and Christine made sure that they created a will and that they named a legal guardian should anything ever happen to both of them. But other than a few minor updates over the years, they hadn't really taken a holistic view of their assets or planned ahead. One of Peter's friends from the gym had sadly passed away rather unexpectedly. He was just about the same age and he was in relatively good shape. His friend had a will in place too, but hadn't spent the time or tapped the right resources to ensure his family wasn't going to get hit with excessive estate taxes or unplanned administrative costs. The creation of a will protected the family from the complexities of dying intestate, which means without a will, and greatly reduced the chances of going into probate court. As is the case for high net worth individuals go, they still only receive 65% of their entire estate value if not properly planned for. That's a significant amount of loss for any family. Peter saw what they went through and naturally was concerned for his own future and his own family. On a flight to New York, Peter met one of our Synergistic financial architects and the story of his friend came up. Our architect began telling Peter about some of the steps that should have been taken to avoid what happened to his friend. And Peter made a decision right there to commit to developing a comprehensive legacy plan for his family. After he returned to Chicago, he immediately called and set an appointment with the Synergistic representative he had met on his flight. He worked with Peter to review his entire portfolio of assets. He went through everything from bank accounts and mortgages to investments and retirement plans, and life insurance, health insurance, college funds, and all of the physical assets like cars, houses, and jewelry. They reviewed his current will for potential weaknesses and revised it where it was needed. And then they reviewed his final arrangements and debt payout schedule should anything happen to him and his wife. Next, they discussed Peter's goals and wishes for his family, what sort of income they would need to maintain their current lifestyle, what additional funds were required for all 3 of the children to go to college and get an education, what were their philanthropic interests and charitable giving goals, and any other wishes outside of the immediate family that needed to be considered. After meticulously considering all of the elements for Peter and his legacy, our financial architect partnered with him and gathered a team of trusted professionals to create new planning alternatives that would minimize taxes and legacy costs, accomplish clarified goals and objectives, and ultimately provide peace of mind for Peter and his entire family. And one of the immediate benefits for Peter and his family was that the solutions created by the Synergistic financial architect offset all of the fees for the legacy plan, and there were no out-of-pocket expenses. No matter if you're single or married, or if you have children or don't, I strongly urge you to consider developing a legacy plan today. The time you invest today will pay you more dividends in the long run than you can possibly imagine. Do it for your loved ones, or you can do it for yourself. It's the smartest thing you can do to protect all of the things that you've worked so hard for. Click on the button below and schedule a private one-on-one call with one of our financial architects. As a bonus for booking the call, we'll not only give you all of the details of how a legacy plan can work for you, but we'll also give you our comprehensive legacy planning guide and our exclusive book, The 5 Secrets to Wealth Building absolutely free. These 2 amazing resources are worth almost $1,000 by themselves. I know Peter and his entire family were glad that they'd made the call, and I promise you will be too. So click on the button below, and you can quickly take the worry and uncertainty out of your future. Click the button below and book your free call now.